anything, but that video was causing me to lose my future appetite.
Wait. All right.
The
So
idea of
wait a
having
minute.
a tranny get out there and talk
Wait.
about
Okay.
man-women
Wait. No. Wait.
relationships.
Wait. Because I know
that, which is something that I.
Yeah, LTTV, Blunt Up with LT, back at it with another video. All right, so let's get into this one. Hope Giselle, the transgender woman who tricked Dr. Umar Johnson into thinking that he was actually a woman, responds to Dr. Umar Johnson. But we also have Judge Joe Brown cooking Hope Giselle and Cynthia G in this reaction. Spitting facts. Let's get into this.
All right.
The
So
idea of having a tranny get out there and talk about man-women relationships.
Wait. Because I know
that, which is something that I think is a fundamental issue within our community, is the fact that we are so willing and ready to walk away from each other than to figure this out. But what really burns your grits and what really makes you upset, Dr. Umar, is that you sat there on that live, that panel, for an hour and a half with commercial breaks and all of that, and your little jumping.
What?
And every time I opened my intelligent mouth, your little got a little harder.
What?
And you were just so enthralled with this black queen that was spitting this knowledge. And even if you didn't agree with everything that I was saying, down for it. Because when it comes down to the women that you claim that you like on that panel, I was her. It's giving skin. It was giving fresh face. It was giving no. It was giving, I'm not giving it to everybody. It was giving.
Hold up! What is this shit?
No, I was her. It's giving skin. It was giving fresh face. It was giving no. It was giving, I'm not giving it to everybody. It was giving African kente cloth. It was giving all of the things, and set it up that way for a reason. I didn't go in and put on lashes or overdo my makeup. I barely brushed my because I didn't want people to turn around and say, you can only fool us if you have all of that going on. You can only trick us.
Stop it. Get some help.
Are you serious? That's your excuse for not being transparent with your actions? That's the excuse. Oh, I could trick you without going all out?
Giving all of the things, and set it up that way for a reason. I didn't go in and put on lashes or overdo my makeup. I barely brushed my because I didn't want people to turn around and say, you can only fool us if you have all of that going on.
So that's justification. That's justification for trying to fool him. You could have tried harder to fool him. That's the justification? Does that make any sense?
You over trying to get people sick.
And then she's trying to put this homosexuality on Dr. Umar Johnson, saying that he wanted him.
I barely brushed my because I didn't want people to turn around and say, you can only fool us if you have all of that going on. You can only trick us if you have all of that going on. You can only be a woman if you have all of that going on.
Okay. No, you ain't.
Have all of that going on. You can only trick us if you have all of that going on. You can only be a woman if you have all of that going on.
Okay, so Hope Giselle is saying some very interesting things that, for me, don't make any sense.
So if you want to bring a surgically off.
Now, the video response we got from Hope Giselle was in a video from O'Shea Duke Jackson. That was his response to it. Didn't make no goddamn sense to him either. Not at all. So this is what Hope Giselle is referring to. Hope Giselle is referring to this. The makeup and filters opposed to the live on air. Hope Giselle is saying that he could have fooled even harder by adding extra layers of makeup. The filters, you can't do that on television. That's just internet trickery. But this is what you came out looking like. So basically, you didn't look like this, you look like this, so that gives you justification to try to trick niggas. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Stop it. Get some help.
Umar Johnson needs to hold that because he was pandering. That's why he ended up stepping in the mud he did, just by, calling everyone beautiful queens and blah, blah, blah. You got to keep it a stack. You won't fall into that.
Male, no disrespect, but don't you think you have a right to tell me? Do your guests have a right to be informed?
This is the video that she was responding to, if y'all haven't seen it already, and then we're going to get into Judge Joe Brown's reaction to the whole matter.
What, that's all I'm saying. Don't have me thinking I'm talking to a woman. Don't have me thinking I'm talking to a woman. Don't have me think I'm talking to a woman. And I'm having a conversation with a surgically altered male. That's all. No disrespect. Just let me know. Hope Giselle, I ain't got nothing against you, bruh. Hope Giselle, I ain't got nothing against you, bruh. Hope Giselle, I ain't got nothing against you, bruh. I'm simply saying I had a right to know. That's all. I'm not going to disrespect you. I have no interest in disrespecting you. I'm just saying I had a right to know that you were a surgically altered male. That's all.
Do you think that a trans person should speak on black men issues or black women issues? Now,
Hell no! Trash ass nigga.
everyone has a right to speak their mind. Everybody.
Yes, First Amendment.
Yes.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's worth listening to.
Facts.
They should have a right to speak on anything they want to. I can't help it because they choose to opt out of humanity and evolution and the way the world runs, and they don't reproduce, they recruit or whatever in the devil they do. See, you're an amphibian, a self-neutered amphibian, they take, again, that analogy to the dogs. You take the dogs and get the balls cut off, they get fixed so they can't breathe. So if they cut their own balls off and neuter themselves with drugs, hey, wow, do it to yourself. What's wrong with you? What happened in your life? You need some therapy.
So do you think that what they have to say, particularly in this situation, about black men, like you were born a boy, but now you live your life as a woman?
Yeah, but
That's the problem. You're born a man. You are trying to transition into a woman. You hate yourself that much, and then you want to disparage black men in your rhetoric.
let me say this.
But
they illustrate why you need masculinity reimposed, because they didn't have it. And that's why they weren't worked up about the glory, honor, and obligation of being a real man. They went off and they show why it's necessary. There are less illustrations of failure. Okay. So that is
and you know what?
Some of his conclusions, but not some of the reasons I would adopt. But the circumstances he did.
Now, this is him reacting to the Dr. Umar Johnson versus Cynthia G and Hope Giselle, or Giselle, whatever the name is, interview. But I cut out some of that parts because we already reacted to that, and we don't want to see a reaction of a reaction, but this is his breakdown of it.
Dictates in terms of the outcomes and the practices are the same. I don't assign that causality because I know people in those communities, and one of the things they've always been about is manhood, and what these little hens are doing here is they need to get back to the damn hen house, and they need a rooster to restore order, because it's like hens trying to run the chicken coop, and it doesn't work out well, because look at the hell that goes on in the community because they've taken the masculine element out. And particularly when you have someone who's into unisex child clothing, let's put it that way, and rearing, you got a
Well,
problem.
let
And that's
me
comment on that bullshit, because they haven't had me in charge. And everywhere I've been over the last 55 years, I've made things happen that are supposed to happen, that men are supposed to be happening. What is going on is certain types of black feminists have taken advantage of the situation that something very old has been perpetrated by certain quarters in government, industry, and finance, which is the secret to keeping the black race down is to keep the black man down and promote the black woman over the black man. Now, if black men and women are treated equally by the system, then that doesn't happen. But I did a lot of research 55 years ago, 52 years ago, 50 years ago with a DC think tank, and I have followed it up since. And one of the things that was studied was the things behind the philosophy, behind the mechanism and devices behind slavery. And universally, slave masters were told that the way to properly enslave the Negro was to get the Negro female to become one of your allies in the process. And she could better enslave her children than you could grown Negroes. So it went from there. Now, black men, Negro men at the time, colored or Negro, whatever in the hell was being used to refer to black men or men of African descent who were obvious in that descent at the time, was because we didn't play warrior and stand up and fight like the Native American brothers that some of us have, or the Native American side of some of our families. As my grandmother, a Choctaw, used to be prone to say, one of my grandmothers, you colored folk, you get angry and carry on. My people, when we got mad, we nailed some scalps to the lodge pole.
Choosing black men and black men and a victim.
All right, y'all, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. I'm not going to interrupt Judge Joe Brown too much during this reaction. I'm going to let him cook and just choose wisely when to interrupt, because he does spit a lot of facts here. Some perspective, but a lot of facts here. Let's get it.
Them both, but the reality is, what he cannot tell you is what black men did in response to it, because they did nothing. They laid down and they nested under the skirt of their non-black preferences, and only to complain that when
Can I say bullshit?
They're not getting off like they did.
Could I say bullshit? First
Yes.
off, 1960s didn't stop with 1963. 64, 65, and until the end of that decade, it was militancy, not nonviolent civil rights. And whereas the civil rights thing was down on the knees playing to Jesus while some redneck was beating somebody across the head until some more rednecks felt guilty about it, we, like H-Rap Brown would pull out a book of matches, say, you have power. You can get them at any corner store. And some years later, when I was with this DC think tank and we went over 60,000 pages of congressional record, it didn't have crap in there past, I think we came up with 4.5 pages where civil rights demonstrations were discussed. The other 60-some thousand pages were all about how come these black folk are burning down these towns at a rate that is the same as the U.S. Army Air Force was burning down Germany and Japan in World War II. What are we going to do about that?
But she's
That's
saying,
what
honey,
we did. So she's talking about black men going out talking about
laying under a white woman.
getting white women and all this other crap. That's bullshit, because that wasn't our motivation, and we wound up doing more to influence legislation than this mythology about the demonstrations. I've said it year after year. It is not demonstrations and protests to get a damn thing. It's changes in legislation, and it's changes in legal status because, or law, because of court rulings, and those things for the most part are generated in a different kind of way. And next thing, it's because of the political pressure that has only been brought because, like everybody else in this country, the system as a whole pays attention to public peace, dignity, order, and tranquility. And when that gets out of line, not by one or two people, but by a whole community, then they start saying, what are we going to do to end this particular transgression? We can't get everybody down. We can't do what we did with the Japanese and put them in internment camps because this group's not going to allow that. We have to do something about it. Now, that is full of crap, and they're showing that they are part of the problem. And God damn it, all they've done when they split this thing off from men and women cooperating, they have produced a hellacious situation in the inner cities where there is no damn manhood and nobody is safe. Their pussies ain't safe from being snatched, and their children's lives are not safe from being taken by some unmanly creeps who have been raised by some of them who don't understand what manhood is about. Now, women are fine, men are fine, but we both need each other.
Right.
And when you don't have that, you got crap. And like some young sister said at a college, it was Kent State up in Ohio, some dumb lesbian got up in the audience talking about the judge is insulting women because he says we can't straighten out the black community. One young 19-year-old sister jumped up and said, fool, sit down. The only thing's going to happen is if you try to do that, you get your fat ass snatched into a vacant apartment and somebody's going to snatch your pussy. So shut up. The judge is talking reality. See, you got to think about that. And I'm not down in women. It's just we have to be together, and throughout human experience on this world, men have done this, women have done that. Some things we overlap and some things we can't overlap because one is better than the other. We need both for the yin yang or yin yang principle, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
So let me ask you this question. Is there a war against black men?
There's a war against the black race, but the people who have been conducting the war know good and goddamn well that the way to win it is to get the black men and black women thinking there's a war against black men, or if it flipped the other way, against black women.
Yeah.
Right. Dr. Umar Johnson also referenced in that panel that it was actually said in the Kerner report, and the Kerner report, I believe, came out in the 60s, that what black men need is an economic stimulus package from the government. They gave it to the Irish, they gave it to the Italians. When you
I don't need stop it. Get some help.
That stimulus package reparation shit, nah, I'm not with that either. I'm exactly where Judge Joe Brown is about to go with this, because fuck all that. Fuck all that. We don't need a leg up. We don't need help. That's that bullshit. What's going on with this?
And the Kerner report, I believe, came out in the 60s, that what black men need is an economic stimulus package from the government. They gave it to the Irish, they gave it to the Italians. When you
I don't need a goddamn stimulus
No.
package.
When you talking about,
he's wrong. I disagree with him. He's dead wrong. Like we said back then.
But when we look at the police department where Irish people controlling that fire
department,
department,
that stimulus he's talking about was not delivered to was not supposed to be for black men. It was to black women who were perceived to be head of economically oppressed circumstance.
But he's saying that black men should have gotten.
We don't need a damn dime.
We don't.
What black men need is, like we said,
to get the fuck out the way.
James Brown co-opted, get the hell out of my way and I'll do it for my damn self.
Without government assistance of any
Without
kind.
government
Not
assistance,
welfare,
just get the hell out of the way. We don't need damn government assistance. That's part of our problem. We act like women, and women, every woman I've ever known in my life would like to marry up above her station. Why? So when you treat your boys like they're girls instead of men, you talk about in their presence, so they get to thinking about somebody subsidizing them, helping them, giving them a boost up. We don't need a goddamn thing except somebody getting the idea when it's black folk, we can do it our damn selves. And if there's any political thing, get the hell out the way. And what you do make available is opportunities that are equal across the board. Perfect. We don't need any goddamn handout.
All right, let me ask you this, because you just said women want to marry up. Do you think that black women in general, right? Black women as a group, we tend to not think that way to marry up because
stop the cap.
Black women.
Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
But black women want to get in bed with the government, welfare, having all these kids. White people are on welfare too. I'm not excluding.
Those are the ones that can't marry up. Those are the ones that can't get that baller ass nigga, that high value man that they want. They're just like, okay, let me just have babies by this bum and use these babies as a bargaining tool, or not even a bargaining tool, as a fucking utility from the government. The government will just pay for these motherfuckers. Government will give you access to housing and all sorts of things by having these kids. So that's what they do. That's the bottom of the bottom, though. Ain't nobody talking about those folks.
Others, but I'm just
but they
talking
don't
about the black
idolize about it. They don't ideate on it.
Right.
They get embarrassed by it.
So how can if you're relying on welfare, then you don't want to marry up because you are.
No, they don't count. See, look, here's what the deal is. They count. Well, let me rephrase that. They count because they have so many damn babies that are raised like that the balance of the black race is getting higher and higher in terms of number of males who reflect that dysfunctional race. Now, if you take the black women who are doing something, they are looking for somebody, and I don't care what the hell they say, trying to be defensive about it. They don't want no broke sucker trying to be supported by them. Now,
we've done thousands of videos. Well, I've done thousands of videos myself personally on these type of matters. I don't know about thousands, hundreds of videos. Thousands of videos in the red pill space, thousands of videos in the manosphere space. We see this as a recurring theme. Women want to date up. Black women, Asian women, white women, brown women, doesn't matter. All women want to date up. They want niggas that have money. They want people that have status. They want people that are better than them. We've seen this time and time again. No race is exempt from this.
Don't care what the hell they say.
Which is why they date a thug selling drugs.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. They say, thugs are exciting, but excitement is excitement. That's like spirits and wine and alcohol. It's interesting, but you don't want to be too damn dependent upon them because that's dysfunctional.
Facts.
But you see, white people are on welfare. More of them are on welfare than black folk. But to them, it's an embarrassment. To us, it's a way of life. See, to them, it's supposed to be a temporary situation where you get the hell out of the trailer park or you get the hell off the check and you move on. For us, you got 4 or 5. I had some families with 6, 7 generations, all of them still alive, starting to breed at 9, 10 years old, who are all on welfare. So it's like, what the hell's wrong with you? You don't have anybody great in your family who's ever had a damn job. What's wrong here?
Right.
See, people are supposed to be self-sustaining. Yep. We're supposed to be wolves who can feed and hunt and support themselves, have their own social structures, a hierarchy of dominance and authority. We're not supposed to be damn dogs who go out and somebody opens the kibbles and bits and puts us in the kennel, takes us out on the leash for a walk and trains us and has us do tricks and we walk down the sidewalk behind. That's not the way it goes.
Right. Okay. So then they're going to get into the white supremacy. So
white supremacy is adversity, and some folk from Africa call adversity Simba. And when they're 13 years old, they have to go out with an all-wood spear, no iron or steel head, and kill Simba. So if 13-year-olds can deal with adversity.
What?
It'll turn around and eat you if you fuck up. We can deal with adversity. I don't even buy into that. And the other thing about what she's saying, hell, I have the credentials, the experience, the IQ, the acumen, the preparation to lead. So get the fuck behind me and let's deal with effectiveness. You can follow me.
Now, this is him responding to the portion where Dr. Umar Johnson is talking about giving a history of the problems that ail the black society, and he was talking about white supremacy. And then Cynthia G went on to question black men's leaderships and blah, 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 saying they're not qualified and black women are more qualified and X, Y, and Z. So this is Judge Joe Brown responding to that specific part of the interview for a little context, because it skipped forward a little bit. Had to make some edits.
The IQ, the acumen, the preparation to lead. So get the fuck behind me and let's deal with effectiveness. You can follow me. You can debate with all these folk around there. And I will go along with...
You went on the record saying that you will never...
I'll never follow a woman to war, though I will take advisement from women. Right. Now, I'll listen...
But she's describing Pookie.
Yeah. Pookie ain't me.
Right.
See, Pookie can get behind me. I'll leave him to freedom. Or there are a few like me, but let's put it this way. We have a myth. We talk about kings and queens, and he's doing the same thing, calling her with her ignorance as a queen. She's not. And I got a good illustration of what king and queen means.
This is what I was talking about when I did that review. It's like, yo, you can't be calling them beautiful black queens and they're disrespecting you and talking down to you and talking down to black men in general. You're pandering to them and you're treating them with such respect when they're treating you with little to no respect. Can't be doing that. And that's why you get that disrespect. So he says none of that. They ain't queens. And let's get into this. What does he say about this?
Same thing, calling her with her ignorance as a queen. She's not. And I got a good illustration of
Cynthia
what
G be talking
king
about here.
and queen means. I had hours worth of conversation on several occasions, from the heir to the throne of Swaziland / the Zulu, a direct descendant of Shaka Zulu, and his brother, also a direct descendant. The first young man was at UCLA during grad work, and the second one was at USC during grad work. And Daddy, who was king of Swaziland and the Zulu, was going to abdicate when they did their dissertations and set their things up. So one could become king. Both of them kill their lions, and when they get the opportunity to take the throne and the ministership, they will have to go out, cooperate. One can pick a spear and the other one will pick a sword, and they have to kill the most difficult animal on the planet to kill. And that's a Cape buffalo, otherwise die. And if the king dies, then they execute his brother so he can't take over, right, by staging the coup. Now, that said, what happens is that they gave me a demonstration of king. And they called some people from their consulate. They came down and their mission was to get hamburgers. And they came and they got bags full of these burgers that the king and minister-to-be were going to eat along with me and my crew. So they had them come in and they backed in, head to the ground, and prostrated themselves on the ground. And one of them dared twitch, and the king, his brother put his foot on his head, right, and said, "This is what it means to be king or part of the noble house. There's only one. That will be my brother, and right now it's my father. There's only a queen. No, there's several queens because my father has 14 wives. And those queens are queens because daddy's fucking, and not anything else. So everybody is not a queen nor a king. You are by dint of your circumstances, and everybody else is a subject. So when Americans get off, black folk get off, and they're, we're kings and queens. No, you're not, because some of you are not fit for that. And in our culture, it's not like they do in England. You just pop out a pussy, and that's how you take over. You have to go through tests, which is at 13, both of us under supervision of the elders of the tribe had to go kill lions, and they picked out the biggest suckers they could find, so we would really have a test to prove ourselves, so they wouldn't waste all these resources on us if we weren't worthy. And now we're going to have to go kill this Cape buffalo between the two of us, and that is difficult because I've seen it done. And I know people that have hunted them even with big rifles, shooting them 12, 13, 14 times, and this thing's still trying to kill you. So, there's a difference. Everybody's not a king and a queen.
Right.
There's one king, and everybody else is a subject. Be the one, I bet you, who's got the unisex child clothing thing, isn't she?
Oh, that's not.
Now, there was a portion in this video where he had to respect the YouTube guidelines and everything, and respect her channel. Where I think this, I don't know, I don't understand their channel. It's like a group. I don't get it. But he was respecting the guidelines, so he said he would speak in code. So that's what he came up with, this unisex child clothing thing, to speak about Hope Giselle. Let's get back into it.
I can tell. Let me tell you what the history. This is bullshit. The ignoramus doesn't even understand Black history or American history. First off, what happened, it has nothing to do with Black men trying to get white women. It had to do with 1/3 of the Union Army at the end of the Civil War was Black. It had to do with those armed brothers getting out there and enabling the Union to win the Civil War. It had to do with the fact that both Black men and Black women were responsible for their circumstances. Black men for not rising up and slitting the throats of their slave masters in the dark of night and going off into the Wild West, west of the Mississippi all the way to the Pacific, and unifying with the Native American tribes out there, like was well within the possibility of reality. No, we didn't do that. And it was also because the Black female fell into that trap of trying to accommodate white power by raising their children to be slaves. And by the way, here's what the slave masters said from day one, over and over and over again in these slave pamphlets that are on microfilm or were 50 some years ago in the Library of Congress. They were told to put the Black man down and uplift the Black woman, so the Black people assumed the Black woman would be the source of authority for themselves, not to Black men. Because if you allow Black men to have authority, then you will have uprisings and problems. If you allow the Black women to be in charge and treat them as though they're in charge, that will become a habit, and it will raise their children to be that way. And the secret is Black women have this ego thing about having grandchildren. So they will cause their boys to survive instead of doing what will get them killed, trying to get free, so they will have grandchildren. And the big secret from this guy, Willie Lynch, that some think was a myth. Hell, he wasn't a myth. I spent hours reading this stuff in the Library of Congress. His secret was this: the Negro is just like the horse. You cannot domesticate a wild herd stallion, but you can domesticate a wild herd mare, even the head mare in the horse herd. So what you do is just like raising horses. If you are aware of this, your mares will raise their foals to be domesticated horses, and you won't have to try as hard to finish up the process. If you properly deal with the Negro female, she will raise her offspring to be good slaves, just like the female horse will raise her offspring to be good domestic horses.
I'm gonna let him finish his point, but we're seeing that in modern society. We're seeing black women run the households, run the community. Talk about
Nobody got time for that.
that's the response to submission. Talk about submission. Talk about black women or black men leading the households. Black women's response is
Ain't nobody got time for that.
it's already deeply ingrained and indoctrinated in the system where it's too far gone. But I don't want to ruin his point. I'll speak after. Let's get it.
I had offspring to be good slaves. Just like the female horse will raise her offspring to be good domestic horses. Now, I had 14, 16 horses on my ranch out in California. My ex was into raising horses, and I learned from close observation that is reality. If you let them, the female horse will domesticate her foals for you, and then you can just do the finishing touches. If you acquire a foal who's been taken from the mother too early, you have a lot harder job to do to get a rideable and trainable horse than if you let the mother deal with it. See, the foals watch the mother shows them how to do it, and that's what the Negro woman did. Back when she showed her children how to be slaves.
Right.
And it is.
Can my child be free? So I say that to say.
Now, it was important that I put this discussion on the channel as a reaction because he was spitting facts, absolute facts, and we're seeing that in modern society currently. What up, TG? Let's get back into this and then let's react to it.
You know, and that's documented as well in books, pamphlets, or whatever. But maybe black women, you know, choosing to be with a white man, especially back then. And then if you go to Brazil, it was a whole culture of pushing their daughters to marry white so they could be lighter. Is it because the fact is that if I am enslaved and if I get pregnant by massa, at least my kids will be free?
Nope.
Yeah, that was one thing. And see, one point that few realize is during the late teens.
Who's really practicing white supremacy?
Yeah, the sister. See, here's what one thing was that folk don't realize. After the Civil War, these former plantation owners who had a lot of money and they were too old to fight in the war, they had sons that were going to inherit that money. But most of those sons, a lot of them got killed in the Civil War. That's more people got killed in the Civil War than in all of the rest of them the U.S. has been in, all put together. So what happened is they had no heirs. And if they had no heirs, the property and money that they had accumulated would go to the state. That's called escheat, E-S-C-H-E-A-T, to the state. So what they did is they got together and passed laws in every one of the former Confederate states that stayed into effect until the late 1920s, early 1930s, that said if you had no more than the following amount of known colored in you, you were entitled to be declared Caucasian if you applied to the right court in that state. After that, you got the one drop rule. See, it wasn't one drop for the whole period of time. It had to do with the status of your mama. See, in other words, you were a slave if your mother was a slave. But if your mother was not a slave, you weren't a slave. See, they have the Seminole Indian Scouts. And the Seminole Indian Scouts were part black and part Seminole Indian. And what's interesting is when you see pictures of them contemporaneous with the 1870s and 80s, they look just like ordinary black folk. But they were not treated as slaves and they were not segregated in the U.S. Army. They slept in the same barracks with white soldiers. But the thing is their mothers had not been slaves. Their mothers had been Native Americans and their fathers were escaped slaves. So in American law, your status, like for Jews, was determined on the status of your mother. If your mother was a slave or your mother was a Jew, then you are a slave or you are a Jew. So what's going on is we both have fault for remaining slaves, but to point that nobody wants to deal with is that human children are most receptive to the mother until they're 7 years old. And if the mother did her job, she would be teaching them to be warriors. She would do just like the Spartan mothers did in legend. Son, either come back with your shield or on it, and either do or die. Don't come running back up in here that you showing that you run away because you lost your shield. See, black mothers did not teach their sons, for the most part, to be warriors. They taught them to accommodate. And I've heard this over and over from older black women, not all of them, but some. Hey, boy, I need to watch what he's doing. Somebody gonna kill him. And folk came up to me, even today.
Now that sounded like that unaccountable bullshit that T.I. was spitting. He sounded like a single black mother, and that's why I tried to hold him accountable in that video. Some people disagreed, but it is what it is. I just realized the chat ain't up here. What up? Our problems, our solutions. Let's get back into this. It's almost done.
Judge, you better be careful. Not all of them, but some. Hey, boy, I need to watch what he's doing. Somebody gonna kill him. And folk came up to me, even today. Judge, you better be careful. Somebody might try to kill you. Yes, I don't give a damn. Let them try, but I'm going to take somebody to the Black Valhalla with me.
You said the Black Valhalla.
Valhalla with me. And see, we want to go to the pearly gates and float around and eat honey and do all this other stuff. I want to fight. Valhalla, where the warriors are, where you get drunk and feast and fight every day.
Yep. Get drunk, feast, fight every day with the savages out here. Our problems, our solution, says Judge Joe Brown always spit all facts with no apologies. It's facts. Unapologetically spitting facts. TG says black women are destructive and we don't even know when we're doing it. Yep, there's that too. 100%. Too much of black women refusing to relinquish their position after they've been finessed out of their position by said communities we were covering in the beginning. These folks. Stuck in the masculine, trying to be the leaders of the community. That's why these conversations with these panels, it's ridiculous. It's a waste of time. Men need to know their position, stay in it, be unwavering, be unapologetic, take command of the community, take the leadership roles. This is pathetic right here because this response is exactly why we don't listen to folks like this. Speaking about black men and women issues pertaining to relationships and roles. We have, as I said the last time, the agent for anarchy coming up here and trying to not even stick on any sort of subject, just trying to shame Dr. Umar Johnson because he successfully tricked Dr. Umar Johnson. This circle type of bullshit where we're just getting lost in these type of issues.
Which is something that I think is a fundamental issue within our community, is the fact that we are so willing and ready to walk away from each other than to figure this out.
Figure this shit out. You created a mess purposely to derail the conversation. That's what's going on here. This is a man. It's a whole man. It's a whole dude.
But what really burns your grits and what really makes you upset, Dr. Umar, is that you sat there on that live, that panel for an hour and a half with commercial breaks and all of that, and your little jumping.
It's a total fabrication.
You know what's so weird about this? It's like Dr. Umar Johnson is a straight black man. Hope Giselle was undercover pretending to be a woman. Meanwhile, trans woman, full man, trying to trick him out of his position, to try to shame him, to turn him into something gay. What is the point of that? Why do they do that? Why What is the strategy in that? Do you hate yourself so much that you want to turn other people into something that, like, I don't get it. I don't understand the mentality behind it. Black News 1990 said, I thought it was a real woman. I thought something was funny about it. This is why you don't, if a woman appears to be an ugly woman, don't just be throwing all sorts of compliments at the bitch, because the bitch could be a whole dude. Could be a whole dude.
Who?
A whole dude. TG says, what makes me offended as a woman is that Hope believes he is exactly like me. He has no respect for the community they want to join. They are just stepping on toes, unapologetic. Yep. They want to perpetrate the fuckery and infiltrate womanhood with no respect for womanhood and rename what a woman is by calling them a cisgender and a transgender, but they're all women under the same umbrella. Stop the cap. That's some bullshit.
Get a job, nigger.
We don't have to take their opinion serious when we listen to them. This is why when the whole Jessica X thing came out, people were like, oh, you're just hating, nigga. This is what people said to me.
Nigga, you just hating, feel me? That's why you ain't never gonna have no paper, ain't never gonna have no bitches, feel me?
I was in the comment section like,
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
for questioning Jessica X, because people are like, oh yeah, we fuck with her though. It's like, who is she? She's just a profile picture. She could be exactly what Hope Giselle is.
Get him out of here! He's got no place in here! Get rid of him! Okay.
Yo, hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Now, I was looking for a video that illustrates a lot of the problems that persist in our community when it comes to single mother raised households with these girls that are trying to finesse the welfare system, that have no good, like good for nothing ass baby fathers who are absent and unaccountable dusty ass niggas. There was a video that I wanted to react to that demonstrates it perfectly. I cannot find it currently, but I'm going to include it in the next reaction that is somewhat related to this type of subject. Not in the next video that I have, because that's related to Charlemagne and them, but we have to cover that. I thought I could find it in this time. I could not currently, but we definitely going to get back into it. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We got a lot more to react to. I want to keep it on subject. I'm no longer speaking about Hope, Giselle, and this tranny bullshit, because at the end of the day, they waste a lot of our time derailing our conversations and including them in spaces they have no place being in. No place being in. So we're not going to spend too much time on that. There was a lot of gems that Judge Joe Brown was spitting in this video. Probably going to cut them up and try to spread it out, because these messages are important. Men need to start being men, being in the role of men, or of masculinity. We keep talking about getting these women in the roles of femininity, but we still have a lot of men out of their roles and asking for handouts, looking for help instead of building the community themselves, standing on their own twos. We have panels of these niggas debating with women and trying to get the right for women to submit to them and blah, 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 debating with these women like, no, nigga, that's not your role. That's not your place. You leave these bitches the fuck alone, nigga. You get a girl that's on your program. You don't debate and argue for leadership roles in the community. What are we doing? People just walk away and find another in other communities where they're successful leading. It should not be a debate in the household. All this bullshit, these women getting finessed by the mainstream media and the LGBT agenda, getting finessed out of their roles, trying to be leaders in the community. Stop it. It's not what we're doing out here. Make sure you share the videos you fuck with. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not. Join the members. There is exclusive content, and sometimes there's streams that y'all don't get till later because you're not part of the members. It is what it is. We out. Yeah.
Stop it. Get some help.
Oh, yes. The camera loves your nastiness.
You up here trying to get people fat?